It is my pleasure to welcome artist, professor, and director Zhou joining us today from the future, actually. He is based in the city of Chengdu, China, in the morning of July 2nd, while we are 11 hours behind, still on Monday, July 1st. Of course, we also welcome you, Mirror, artist Mirror YuanmingyuanandSongzhuang, who is acting as our interpreter back and forth between English and Chinese.
Thank you.
So again, dear Mirror and Zhou, welcome to the 4th edition of Cine Plus Perfo, Film and Performance, an online international festival of performance art in audiovisual formats based in Buenos Aires. My name is Graciela Ovejero, Postigo. I create this festival on the 2nd year of social distancing due to global health issues. And also I want to mention that helping us with the controls, sharing screens and all that is Alejandra Acevedo, our very new team person. Alan, you can say hello and show your face now, your beautiful smile.
Hi. Hello, Alex.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, all of you, for agreeing to co-create this important moment of learning and to learn and reflect together about performance, art, celebrating the work of Zhou, his commitment to performance or behavioral arts, which has extended into teaching performance for quite some years, coordinating upon Festival, International Performance Art Festival, and recently creating its archive. So how is this morning in Chengdu? I see it's a warm morning.
It's very sunny there. It's like around 30 degree, and it's really good.
Nice and warm, fantastic. For this pre-recorded transmission, we will proceed in the following way. I will go to introducing you both, shortly, so that we get like a general panorama of the trajectory of Zhou after I say a little something about our festival. So our mission as a festival is to support the practice and performance artists from vivid processes, giving artists a stable space reference here in the city of Buenos Aires, with ongoing exhibitions and reflective conversations, sometimes combined with short residencies, although I learned not so short compared to some other projects that also exist. Our residencies last minimum 7 days, so a week. So from a week to 10 days, for especially is combined for artists that are visiting from abroad. Mm-hmm. This festival is together with our umbrella art space, the space I mentioned where the residency exists. That is a house. There is a space for exhibition, for showing performance, and also holding conferences and conversations. Not a huge space, but it's okay space. And we have a couple of rooms where artists stay when they come in residency. We had up to 6 artists visiting, for instance, from Germany at a time, so I think that was the most that we have. But our programs are small programs, from within 2 artists to up to sometimes more artists, because I also invite other artists to curate, and sometimes the programs have included up to 14 artists with short pieces. We allowed all the time necessary when that happens, start early, and things evolve in the space. We strive to document every event, performance exhibitions and discursive events, the conversations such as this one, to build an archive. And we do have an archive. The space started in 2011. So we have quite an important archive that is mostly digital and printed documents, right? So Cine Film and Performance, Cine plus Perfo, is a new institutional arm of the space called Peras de Olmo Ars Continua. It combines two phrases, long name. Peras de Olmo means elms pears. Of course, elm trees do not give pears. So some, reference to utopia and poetry. And ars continua is a Latin phrase that means just continuous art making, something like that. So in a sense, of course, here is a home. So we know art and life, go like that. And all the relationships with artists as well. We cohabit, and we make art together when artists visit. So this year, the call of the festival always is propositional. There is a sort of a curatorial proposition, some idea or a cluster of words to inspire the artists. And then a jury, an international jury, is invited. And they decide as a collective the pieces that will make the exhibition. At this point, maybe Ali, you can show a little bit of our site, just a little bit, as I have mentioned this about Cine plus Perfo. So for this year, the theme, we have already launched the call, and we have a couple of words for this, the call of this year, for the artists to think, produce, or think of a piece they may already have. But we are focusing on short 7 minutes works, which will make them think more about the relationship between action and audiovisual, that dialogue there. Also in the context of the fast-paced life and audiovisual interaction that we are immersed into as contemporary persons. Yeah, that's, for instance, you see that it was the jury of last year. So, and for the conversations, we have live conversations, or we publish some conversations that took place in other moments, like this one will be. This year focusing actually in teaching performance. Artists that teach performance, and teaching performance methods. That is also a creation, right? Like in this case, and Zhou Bin's experience and content become a perfect fit for this year's festival. So I will say a little something about you, Mirror, now. You were born in Inner Mongolia. Mirror holds a master in contemporary performance practice from Royal Holloway University of London. She's also a certified cognitive behavioral hypnotherapist from the British Academy of Hypnosis, and her work as an artist combines elements of performance and theater. She has also helped as an interpreter between Chinese and English in numerous occasions, particularly in the context of International Encounters of Performance Artists Festival, as she's doing it right now for us. And we are very lucky and thankful for your expertise.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Because I have seen you perform, last year while Upon Festival was taking place, and I was amazed. Thank you, Mirror.
I'm very happy to be here.
I will go into Zhou Bin now, bio. So we round up that, and we can go into the images and start kind of conversing a little. Zhou Bin was born in 1970 in Xi'an, China. He graduated from Chang'an University. Between the years of 94 and 97, he worked at Beijing YuanmingyuanandSongzhuang artist villages. I saw that it's a complex of interesting buildings, and you can maybe tell us a little bit about that. And in 1997 was a year that marked his move from Xi'an to Chengdu, where he turned exclusively into dedicating to performance art. Zhou Bin, we will address your statement later as we go through the images. So Zhou Bin has traveled traveled extensively abroad with his performance art, spending productive time in Japan's Tokyo Live Art Center, Korea Wanzhou City Museum, Renjuang Art Stage, Singapore Binai Art Center, Thailand's Magu Culture and Art Center, Holland's W139 Museum, England's Chinese Art Center, Moore University Museum, Seattle Action Art Space, Israel's ZAS Performance Arts Center, Germany's Savvy Modern Art Group, Ludwig Museum, Italy's 21st Century National Art Museum, Austria's Kunstraum. I won't be able to say this, near the Rostrich. You know, I have a brother that speaks German because he's also a citizen of Austria, but he lives in Switzerland. He's a musician, but impossible for me. Gallery in Vienna, Tanzquartier, Vienna. He has researched and performed in art residency programs throughout Sweden, Belgium, Philippines, Vietnam, Myanmar, Indonesia, and Pakistan. Through these extensive travels abroad with his performance art, his practice has developed and kept constantly active in events and organizations as well as with academic work. In 2007, Zhou, together with Chengdu-based artist Yanjing Liu, created Upon Live Art Space, which produced a year after Upon International Live Art Festival, starting in 2008. From 2012, Zhou has been invited as a lecturer to Sichuan Fine Art Institute and Art Institute of Chang'an University, where he gives classes on performance art. From December 2015, he has also been invited by Germany's Berlin Free University, as well as the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts and the University of Applied Arts, also in Vienna, to conduct performance art curricula. In 2021, he published the monograph Teaching and Learning of Performance Art and founded the Upon Performance Art Archive. So I have a first little general question. It is our aim to be able to subtitle this to Spanish at some point. So you stated that you embraced performance art as your main artistic expression when you moved to Chengdu in 1997. What were the circumstances of that change of location and its relationship with centering your art practice interest on performance art?
When he was in Beijing, he was being an artist as an oil painting artist. And at that time, he hasn't seen any performance art in live performance. So he has some, misunderstandings about performance art as well. And he thinks, people do performance art, maybe those people who can't paint. And then after he moved to Chengdu, a lot of things changed. And then he saw the performance on set, and that gives him a lot of inspirations. And then he feels like he wanted to do performance art. And also he thinks when you do an art on the paper or on canvas, it's so limited. So he's changed his performance. He changed his art path to performance art.
Wonderful. So the scene, Chengdu had a scene of performance art. I understood that you came to Chengdu and you were actually offered a teaching position to teach performance art very soon. So the scene in Chengdu, there was a scene of performance art that was important.
The performance art started around 1995 in Chengdu, and a lot of artists already started to do the performance there. And after he went there, 1997, so it already developed for 2 years. So he went there and see a lot of artists already doing performance art, and he joined them. And it's actually been several years after he started to teach. It's around 2021.
Okay, good. That's good. So you moved to Chengdu not because of work, but in your own search of new places, or?
The reason why he moved to Chengdu is because in 1985, and the first artist village in Beijing, Yuanmingyuan, has been torn apart, so artist has been sent out, so he has no place to stay. And his girlfriend at that time was just graduate from university, and his girlfriend hometown is in Chengdu, so she said, if you have no place to go, then you can go home with me, so we can go back to Chengdu. So he went to Chengdu with her, but in the beginning, he doesn't really like Chengdu that much because it's not so lively in arts in terms of not so many artists or, art events there. But then they get married in 1996, and his daughter has been born in 1997. So then he settled there.
Perhaps, Zubin, you have made the fourth canoe, number 4, slide 4. We are looking at works from 98 to 2016, and that's a nice action picture with Zubin's bio. So this piece, historical watermark, I see this piece and also next piece, but let's stay with this one, right? Is this work the surface, in relation to marking a surface and silhouetting a human silhouette on different surfaces. In this case, the process was a duration of a few hours. It's certainly an old building, like a memorial gesture. Could you say some more about the site? It's like a site-specific work. And the beautiful thing that I read there is that you have created these images that we see when you're starting at the end with water from the river, like cleaning. What can you tell us about the building and that the experience of doing that? Why? If one can ask why, I know artists don't like to be asked why you do that. But I mean, like, what motivated you for that gesture? And it's very moving. I find it very moving. I like it a lot. So it's the year is 1998, right?
The background of this performance is around 80s to 90s in China. A lot of buildings and Asian buildings have been torn down to build up new cities. So this piece of wall has been found during the construction. They didn't know that there is a historical wall there until they are supposed to tearing this part down in Chengdu to build something else. And then they found this wall. So a lot of publications, the newspapers has been reporting this. And then this is his first published artwork. Before 1998, he's doing performance art pieces, but he doesn't think they are mature enough. But for this one, is the first one that's been published. And 4 of them, actually 4 artists in Chengdu, they made performances around this area. This river called Funan River is actually Mother River. It's around this wall. It's a mother river in Chengdu, so it's also means something for the people there. For his piece, he washed the wall, and also 3 other artists made their pieces there. So after their performance, people for this construction company, they decided to reserve some of the wall there and tear the other rest part apart. Yeah, so that's the background.
Fantastic. So that was very interesting, of course, the connection with history, and I was very intrigued about the phrase, the historical mark in my heart. Present the historical mark in my heart. That is beautiful, poetic and intriguing. And interesting, of course, the effect of the artist's sensibility, bringing the public to actually rethink about just massive building, constructing all the time, actually, destructing some historical buildings. So we can move on to the next slide. Again, marking on another surface, and now you are inside the silhouette. Yeah, of course, in the prior one, the physical action, about facing this very big wall, and the theme of wall, I see it repeats. Of course, the wall of China and all that. And action, the paint action, right? This enunciation as a type of a little bit, recall on the history of actually action art, because of Pollock. But in this case, with the water, it's like taking away the time. And I can imagine that process of 7 hours that took the work of cleaning and the walls and creating those silhouettes emerging, like life was here, right? And it's maybe still something resonating on the wall. And now here yourself, I thought that this was very interesting, fabricating an accident to see the already in the city, on the street, a different surface. And how was this idea came about? It kind of ghosty at the same time as the silhouettes, the prior silhouettes, of course. This is in the following year, again, imprinting the human figure on the walls, and in this case, yourself, in dialogue with the routines of the city. We can see the bicycle passing by and actually a car right there. It looks like you are in the middle of the street.
Well, at that time in China, a lot of fast-pacing things are happening, and people are living a fast-pacing lifestyle. So lots of people are walking on the street and didn't, notice the things happening around them. So he just did this on the street and wanted to find out what others will react to his traffic thing. And 20 minutes after he started to do this performance, the policeman was thinking like they are doing some film shooting things, because he's using cameras shooting on the street, and so the police thinks they are interfering with the traffic, and he came and stopped him.
So main interaction was with agents that are supposed to keep the order in the city. But people, were they indifferent, or was there a little worry or surprise? It depends how, if Chengdu was starting to be transformed into this fast pace, now is this, of course, we know every Chinese city is huge, I think. I don't know. But I can imagine in the 90s, this influx of the building and all this huge industrialization and all kinds of things. How was that, the collective life? Were people slowing down, or just kind of, because you are intervening with a sign, you are symbolically intervening in the urban landscape. And yeah, of course, the police understand, it's a film, but the cars gotta go, move. I wonder about the citizens, the people, what they reacted. How was that at that time in the 90s, the end of the last year of the last century?
So most of them doesn't have much reactions, and some of them were discussing around him, maybe because they saw like somebody is filming with cameras, so they also think he's not real. And he thinks one thing he wanted to change, for he's not so mature in making the performance at that time, he's still in the beginning, is that he probably will change to have the cameraman hidden, or have a flying camera to do the shooting, other than have the camera on site so the other audience will see it directly.
Right, sort of to actually make this connection, allow for the people to maybe be surprised or something, what is this? Yeah, so anyway, we can move to the next image. This one is very, very interesting. Again, the painting as action, and in this case you have created this glass cubicle, and you start recording everything you see until you are blinded yourself, cannot see anymore. It is interesting, like kind of a metaphor of the artist painter in a way, with the action, and is blinded by the art, separated from the society, yet this cubicle is there, and then performance art saves you because you have to break the glass. So what was the site where you did this? It looked like a shopping mall, but I'm not sure. What was it? You got permissions, I guess, to do that?
So for this performance, he wanted to talk about a little bit more about his previous art background in the beginning. So he started to do painting since like he was 4 years old. And in the second year of his middle school, he decided that he wanted to be an artist to do painting. And in the beginning, he wanted to do a Chinese painting artist. And then he started to do oil painting. And after he got revealed to performance art, he felt it's a more free frame of kind of art. So he changed his path into doing performance art. And once he decided that he wanted to do a performance art, he decided not to do painting at all. Although he felt a little bit, missing the painting a lot, he wanted to do painting, but he decided not to do it. Then he never did painting again. So at that time, when he was at home, he sometimes would put oils at home to have the scent of the oil painting, so still have the feeling that he is connected to painting. This piece, he is doing the painting inside of the four glasses. So after he painted the passers-bys and also the images he's seeing in the site, he started to isolate himself apart from the others around him. And this is also something he wanted to, notice when artists is doing paintings, they're kind of isolated from the society. They have to do it by themselves. But when performance artists are doing their pieces, it's more interactive with the audience and with the outside world. So when he is doing this piece, in the beginning, he isolates himself by doing the paintings, and with his action of breaking the glasses, he started to interact and break the isolation from his behavior. So this is also something he wanted to talk about with this piece about communication and about isolation.
Yeah, it's an amazing sort of metaphor, like a piece in a way narrates that decision, of self-transformation, a painter and into action, this isolation. So the site it looks like it's is it like a bridge or like a mall, a part open, part enclosed? The site, I'm curious for the piece.
So this is an open space in an old street called Yulin Street in Chengdu. It's kind of centered.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's look at the next piece. This piece is very interesting. I find it very political. You can maybe talk about the context. It's like after the piece of the fabricated accident, the three following performances that you have in the series involve smashing and breaking. So clearly here is the action was to constantly hit this wall with this male genital representation, red, in a way. I don't know. We can see the red as a representation of the state and masculinity, patriarchy. I don't know what were the omnipresence of patriarchy and like a critique to masculinity in the world, what were the emotions, or was any of these ideas? And you, of course, intuition always goes beyond the theoretical, I don't know how much of those ideas were with you. This is the year 2000, in terms of this action. It's very powerful and very interesting. I find it very political. I don't know how you constructed it, the consciousness that you put into it. It's there, perhaps anyway, but how was at that moment for you?
这个作品没有
So for this piece, actually, he didn't really have any political thoughts put on this. His original idea about this piece is to destroy the conservative inside of the historical city Xi'an, where he was raised up, and he grew up there until 24 years old, and then he went to Beijing. And this is like 6 years after he left the city. So after he left the city, actually, he never went back to live there again. Ancient walls actually is very typical stance for histories in China, and he uses this man Gentiles to smash the wall, just coming out from a very primal idea as a man. Also, he wanted to destroy this conservativity by using this primal way, just smashing the wall with this male Gentile. Also, maybe this choice is coming from he's a man and he wanted to choose to do it this way. And also, this is happened in 2000, and this piece is considered the first performance art piece happened in Xi'an. And after this performance, 4 artists in Xi'an, they made events there, did several performances together. And after this event, there are more artists and started to do performance there.
都是我希望用一种非常原始的力量。
Right. Super. Yeah, it's amazing, the piece at the moment, in Xi'an, he's the city where he born and grew up, it's like sort of this action to kind of wake up, protest, express frustration to conservative structures as a young man, right? And then today we can look at the same image and the image goes like, woo, it totally navigates all kinds of things. But they are there, that's the power of symbols. Symbols live. That's why we still look at the, artwork that is made from centuries ago, because of the power of symbols. And that's why I said intuition, goes through time. There is a power there. And you, as a hypnotherapist, of course, I'm sure you know those things, how the unconscious can bring up and put forward emotions that will reverberate for a long time, differently perhaps in different historical moments, but still have the power of saying important things about the collective mind. No? So yeah, it's quite amazing piece, I thought. So the next piece is also very intense. I am intrigued about I like the titles of your pieces. N or X times screaming of the man drawn in ink water. The relationship of ink water, as obviously the water has been blackened by ink used to write history, right? And then in this, as part of this piece, you kind of, you choke yourself with the water coming in and out different times in a physical endurance. Obviously, it's an action connecting with pain and with the strength to go through it. And you are making another connection with a poem by a young man, then a poet James Byrne, you mentioned that when you go in and out, you mention a phrase that you have reframed from a poem of James Burns, who was, as a very young man, was imprisoned and several times, and like some harsh life against this confrontation, or this situation of the young man and the powerful society sort of colliding in that moment. And he becomes he's a poet in the end, after all these imprisonment experiences, and a filmmaker. But what was the phrase that you repeated? And it says there in your description that you transformed the phrase from James Burns' poem a little bit. Do you remember what was the phrase that you repeated? The images that are made.
这个诗我记得。
Couldn't recite the poem like completely, but it's all like written. It has papers, so he can send to us later. It's about against the rules and society, and also the background is this performance is happening when a lot of performance arts is doing in China, and CCTVs and also fine art magazines in China are discussing about performance art. And they think he has a bad influence, and also the fine art magazine decided that performance art is not a kind of art form. And even the president at that time, Jiang Zemin, is asking his niece, which is a very important figure in the fine art, and ask him about what is performance art and why there's so many artists doing it. So also by doing this piece, he's doing something to shout out and to against this kind of press from the society and from the power figure against performance art.
一样的，就是用
Yeah, very, very clear. Yeah, it's amazing. Also, I was just thinking about the photographs, the recording of the action. Of course, the experience of the physical action, I imagine, it was very intense for Zhou, of course, but also anybody watching it. But at the same time, the capture of the images is like this prolongation of the hair with the blackened water. It's really amazing. So the connection with, again, water and the connection, the water as a body, and the connection of the body, the naked body, of course, the veins, we come from inside another body when we are born. Yeah, no, everything is like, amazing piece. So this was, how long was it? How long did you endure doing this? You did 18 times. Yeah, it must have been, plenty anyway. It is a form of torture, to prisoners, horrendous, that is done, sinking in the water. So, the context, of course, and very clearly. So we can look at the next piece. The artist brings order to a distant island. So it's like land art, kind of land, working with the landscape. Was it a trajectory that you did, wandering in that area, or it looks very peaceful after the images of the prior piece? Was it a way of marking an itinerary, or how was the motivation for this, the marks?
那个作品
So the previous one you asked about how long he did for 18 times is around 30 minutes, so it's not too long. So this performance happened in island in China, which is close to Vietnam, and so this is a very distant island, so it's not developed yet. He went there and did some signs when people are supposed to sign it during the development. So during that time, a lot of Chinese places are under constructions. So not for long, he think this place will be developed as well. So before that, he's doing this.
Right. A message to the future developers. Yeah.
我们去这个小岛的时间也是蛮有意思的。
And the date is actually very interesting. It's the first day of January of 2000. So it's a new century and it's the first day of the new century. A lot of things could happen and they choose this day. Several artists took the boat. It take around 3 hours to go to that island and they started to do
所以这个
performance
时
there.
间点也是蛮有意思的。
Wonderful. So that was part of the context. That was another question I had. It was in the context of performance artist encounter, self-motivated. Yeah, my question was of the pieces we have seen, whether they were just individual pieces he decided to do in different moments, or that they didn't seem, or it was not mentioned, whether they were part of some festival or some event with other artists. In this case, yes.
Yeah, this is an art event and he's one of the artists.
Let's look at the next slide. The piece is called Save the City. I really like this one a lot. In this one, you make a relationship between Chengdu and Xi'an, your birth city. And again, there is the brick, something with the brick, and then you intervene, you take a brick from one wall and take it to the wall of another city. And what were the contexts that saved the city, and this action making holes in the brick and introducing your plot there? Still, I would imagine if these are all historical walls and you as an artist can do this sort of intervention, taking a piece of the brick of the wall, taking a brick from a historical wall from one city and taking it to another city and placing it there. It seems like it's still an innocent moment that, in relation to, historical walls in the city, supposedly, are there to be preserved and they are state, objects and stuff like that. But the action is very moving. But I don't know what was going on there. This was, what year was 2002? 2002. You made 12 holes in the brick and put your blood in the holes and took it to Xi'an. What was the context there? And is the brick still there? You placed it, is still there?
So he did this performance putting his blood inside of the brick is to put some life inside of it in order to express saving the city. And this brick, the photo down there is the wall is under construction and he put the brick there to take the photo. But actually, if he put the brick there, they will definitely remove the brick. So he put the brick actually inside of the wall in other side. He thinks it's still there.
Yeah. I like it a lot. Let's look at the next piece, and this piece is more confrontational also in public space. Can you explain just briefly what is going on there and the site? And obviously you are stopped by the police, whatever you are doing there.
对，这个作品是在成都的
So this piece happened during the Iraq War between America and Iraq, and so it's a very clear protest of war against the war. Also, one thing happened very interestingly. When the policeman came to him and wanted to stop him, an old lady started to ask the policeman, "Why are you stopping him?" And the policeman said, "Because he is on the street and he might be have bad influence around the people there, and also we're interfering with the traffic." And then old lady said, "Well, he's doing it on passers-by walk, and they're just standing there, and there's no car we're going to drive there. So what kind of traffic interfering he would bring?" And so it's very interesting. An old lady trying to argue with the policeman, and also he's walking towards America, the state
Embassy? Embassy?
yeah, embassy.
No,
Yeah, the
yeah,
embassy. Yeah,
American
the
embassy.
embassy building. He's walking towards there. So the policeman, after seeing that, the policeman stopped him immediately and took him to the police station. They didn't really arrest him, just ask him who he is and then released him.
简短的翻译吧。
Yeah, we were also protesting there. I was living in San Diego when that was happening. There were all kinds of, we always protest, and they still go on doing all kinds of wars and things. Amazing. The next piece also involves bricks. It says you invited 3 farm workers. The intervention seems to take place in a gallery. What was the situation of the farm worker? It says that the 3 of you shouted something. What was the situation there? Some kind of protest, also something being manifested.
这个展览也是非常有意思。这个展览是
At that time in China, a lot of the farmer workers couldn't get the money for their work. So for this piece, he's trying to create that kind of scene inside of the gallery. And also for using the bricks, because this exhibition, the place, the gallery asked the artists to use bricks specifically. Every one of them has to use bricks to bring the piece, whether it's performance art or installation, you have to use bricks. So he just used bricks and he hired 3 farmer workers to shout his name to create a scene like he owes them money. And also after his previous experience, so this one, he asked the cameraman to try to, hide from the audience. And so the audience would think like this is a real thing. That's why the pictures are so vague, it's not so clear.
好像是来讨债的。
Yeah, actually the pictures, yeah, exactly. They look like, but it gives a different sense, of it's like a documentation, like when somebody takes a picture kind of randomly or somehow. It's very interesting, because in our festival we also look at that, how the register of the documentation brings up different aspects, right? And it's like the presence of the bricks in the images indicate the relationship, but you don't know exactly what's happening. And those people with the bricks in their hands, they look like they don't match with the rest of the people. It's interesting documentation, and there is, different aspects of truth there. I was wondering, farm workers in a gallery, certainly like different types of work together, and, bricks asking for money, whether there was something to do, certainly for sure, something to do with the farmers, which Zhou has mentioned, the situation there, not getting paid, and about the economy of the artists. I don't know how it is, but I wonder if there are children of farm workers that become artists. Does that happen? Probably so. Your education is free in China, right? Is it? Or how is it? Education and universities and that sort of thing. Higher education, is it free?
Well, for primary school, it's free, but if you wanted to, go higher, it's not free.
Not free. Argentina, we still have free higher education, but now we have a government that wants to destroy all that. So we're very, very, very concerned. Yeah, this involvement with the social, I find. I see, Zhou, you have been exploring all these different forms in this few years since you started already, expanding, certainly embracing the action and the possibilities. And in this case, these interactions, with things that are taking place in the moment. Maybe at this point I read your statement where it says that your work emphasizes the body's experience. We could see that in the piece, these other different pieces, the piece about the drowning yourself, and the other one enclosing, within the glass box, and that one, of course, the experience of the body enduring and giving absolute substance to the idea. So the body giving absolute substance to the idea, whether expressing some slight feeling or dealing with life's contingencies. Like in the case of the break, okay, artists, you have to use breaks for this exhibition, and then you made the connection with farm workers' reality, which is very interesting. And then you say something that I like a lot. It says your works arrive at the epistemological and linguistic root of performance art, stressing what you say is important, but how you say it is even more so. And talking about the body's language, like in the case of pounding the wall with that. And thank you, Ale, for going through the images. In this case, in this image, you set yourself to hold a coin with your mouth, and for whatever time you are able to do it, and to experience what happened to the body in that situation. That of course you have to hold it forcefully, not to swallow the coin and maybe lose your breath, but the body starts sweating and crying. Do you want to say something about that? Certainly is like this, perhaps this experimental aspect of the practice to set up for an action that will give you an experience, right? What can you say about that?
He discussed a little bit about his concept of using the body. He thinks he is very against to take the fake photo or to showing or performing out a kind of state of the body. So he thinks when you're doing a performance art piece, you wanted the body to be tired, then you have to tire it. It takes time. Also, if you wanted to, vomit, you really have to have the reaction, not just the perform the reaction. So the documentary also has to, shoot the whole process and the changes from the beginning to the end, how the body changes. So for this performance, it happened in the background. The China economically has developed very quickly, and because in China there is a very long time people are living in poverty. So after the economic has been boosted, for people at that time, the main purpose for living is to earn money. So money became the center of life. And in this piece, he wanted to express with the coin inside of his mouth to have showing the reactions and the controversies between a person and the money. It might cause some feelings, and money shouldn't be the center of one's life. And also one thing he wanted to add is around 2005, and this happens in 2006. So he's trying to find different kind of media to do performance art, and this is the concentration around that time in his art creating. And the previous one, he's doing the break to use others other than himself, use the others' bodies to express his concept. For this one, he's trying to express the concept with his body, but he wanted to matching that of the body and also the concept of what he wanted to express. This is the thing that he wanted to add.
Yeah, of course, in this reflection about money, and like the concern, about what's going on in the society, and this sudden transformation, or fast transformation of China economics, and how it affected rural people and just the whole society and the artists expressing. It's like The sequence of the selection that Zhou gave us is very well thought, because we can see how an idea, like concentrating or thinking about money, people's lives, how it's affecting, differently, and how to make art, that sort of information and that sort of with consciousness. This is one of the elements of performance. Performance deals, it's the body in action, and consciousness. The artist makes a choice to go through an experience that at the same time the artist can endure, because it's investing consciousness into the images that are being created, these ones, right? Yeah, thank you for all the additions. It's super good. Yeah, and then of course, in thinking about this, the pieces, because thinking about the pieces is a whole process, right, of multiple associations that have to do with what is going on, as we said, the consciousness and the emotions, the affectations of things that are happening, and in relation to time, to kind of say, okay, this is going to be a performance piece, and my material is going to be a coin, and I do this. Yeah, that took 20 minutes, but it was very intense. And this next piece that maybe we can see, Ale, is a longer piece, Chase the Sun, from sunrise to sunset on the roof of a building. And of course, being affected by all those hours, looking at the sun movement, many hours. So that's another example where it's like the concept is pre-established to create an experience, a real experience, and that the documentation of that experience. In here, we see 4 photographs, but we can imagine the process, right, when we are given the elements. So we have a realization of, we can imagine how that experience went through, but the actual experience the artist has had remains in her or his body, memory and consciousness. What do you remember, Zhou, from this piece, being on the roof so many hours watching the sun movement?
He said for this piece, somebody would say that the sun maybe represent the power or political reason, but actually no. For him, this piece is just expressing or experiencing the relationships between the nature and himself, in this term between the sun and his body. So the feeling after this performance is actually 12 hours is not settled for 12 hours, because around the time from the sun up to sundown is around 12 hours, and after doing this his skin has been burnt, and also his eyes was sour for a month after staring the sun for 12 hours, and his body has been suffered a lot, and that's the feeling at that time. But it's been a very long time now, so for his feeling in his body right now is to have the concentration during performance, to be really concentrated and to be at the moment is very important for performance. That's the experience get from this performance.
Yeah, the next piece is also experimental, my meat, placing a piece of pork in the hand and living with it for 7 days, doing everything. And then that then later on does have, of course, consequence of the rottening of the meat, and the people are brown, and I can imagine that discomfort in the skin while doing that. So another of those pieces. And then we can look at the following one. It's I think it's also a piece where you invite people to do something with it. Do you want to explain a little bit what happened there? What were these? It does have some dialogue with the political party and some particular date, anniversary of the People's Republic of China. Why the number of 50 placards, I mean, with the same statement and people holding it, making how was the interaction there? Very simple, but making a mark like, okay, so this is supposed to be important, and you created this collective portrait in a way.
这个作品其实是一个
The image are quite interesting. Actually, the video gonna be more interesting because you can see different people have different reactions while reading it. Yeah, there's a cutting video about this performance as well. And about 50, why 50 is because the government has published this celebrating the 60th anniversary of the People's Republic of China, and they gave 50 notes. You can only use this 50 notes while you're celebrating the anniversary or you're posting anything. These 50 sentences are the sentences you use. You can't use the other sentences. And during this performance, during the interactions, the audience, the participants also read the notes in different tone or different way as they like. Like the policeman gonna read it in a very formal way, and some of the youngsters, they read it very light or darker simply. Yeah, so this performance is kind of wanted to play around this idea about politically.
Yeah, absolutely. With a very simple action that is actually there, an invitation of the state of what and the state in terms of the celebration. So the phrases were different phrases. It's not the same phrase 50 times. It's 50 different phrases. They were the way people should refer to the celebration. Wow. Yeah, that video must be so interesting. Well, the next two pieces you did, they are in relation to another state, in relation to Israel. And this is 2008, but look, the situation that we are in today is so horrific. I wonder, so this one is in Jerusalem, in the dry plaza in front of the famous West Wall, and you have used some debris that come from the prayers or something like that to write some, in Chinese characters, you write, who is the terrorist? That piece is that question remains really there and beyond the state that is supporting all the genocide happening at this time. We are also amazed to be witnessing where you went to Israel for at this particular time. This is 2008. You went for a performance festival, and was the performance sort of invisible because people would not know how to read the characters and the questions? Or if you were in the context of artist festival, they would know, of course, they would be informed about what you wrote. And how was that received then?
So this performance performed is invited by Israel, one of the gallery there, and they invited him to do a performance. He did this performance inside of the area that is very holy and religious. He saw many people from different countries and from three different religions in front of the wall and praying very sincerely. And for this idea, who is the terrorist? Well, he thinks this is just a political idea to place the terrorist title upon one country or one person. But while all these people, some of them are armed with guns and they're from military soldiers. But while they're praying there, he believes every one of them are praying with good thought and with love, and they're all equal and all the same. So he wanted to express this kind of thought by placing the words on the ground and picking up the scripts falling from the wall. Yes, you saw that the characters in Chinese, but the first trying out was with English characters. So he tried to write who is the terrorist in English with the script on the ground, but he has been stopped. So the next day, he went to the same spot and picking up the script and doing it in Chinese characters again. Then he didn't he didn't being stopped because people couldn't recognize the characters, but still he couldn't do it with the full sentence on the ground. He did it with one sentence and then take a photo and tear it apart, and with another sentence take a photo. This kind of method is not ideal, but the final result is kind of express the thought what he wanted to express.
接近的，是同样也是表达了我的意思。
Yeah, oh, certainly, but also gives account of the context, that the process is modified because of the context. It cannot happen at once. The writing cannot be legible by the people that are controlling the space, that representatives of the state, again, State of Israel, and then having to go a second day and actually modify the process, writing in Chinese characters and documenting at the same time, casually, as this fragmentation. It's insisting with the piece, insisting with the thought, in spite of the constraints of the control of discourse that the place is subjected to. So all of that is very important, and that the piece is developed anyway, not stopped. That insistence there is a very important element. And of course, each piece, as you see, this is the fascinating thing with performances, that each piece goes a little bit beyond and brings up some thinking process and some physical processes that always bring something new in the context with reality. There are forms that cannot be repeated. That's very interesting also in terms of when teaching art, this art form. It's like the contact with the pieces, with the pieces that other artists have done. And that's why we keep inventing festivals, is because not only to set up these situations in which we are going to be intensified thinking about doing something that is an experience for us, and that it gives something to the other people, and that does something to consciousness, and to something remains there. It's amazing. So the piece is like 2 days, and all of this, talking about what happened, the narrative, it's part of the record, not just the images, and knowing that these images have to be taken one at a time and all those things. And they insisted in it, particularly in this piece, to break the barrier, to break the wall, to go beyond what the wall says. The wall says, do not trespass, do not go beyond, meaning has to be kept here and in this way. But the artist wants to dissolve that. I think that maybe we move on a little bit because of the timing. And I was thinking that maybe starting to that one. This is the piece that you follow an ant in Tiananmen Square for 90 minutes. So it's almost like an invisible action. Again, a site that is highly observed, regulated, that is impregnated with intense historical situations, such as the West Wall in Jerusalem. And then you choose an action that is very minimal, so almost like invisible task. And tell us what happened there in that one. It was 2009 as
这个作品
During this performance, he followed an ant in the Tiananmen Square. So this performance has wanted to, to have this interaction between an individual behavior under civilians' ecological cameras and also policemen around that area. For the second picture in the first line, we can see that there is a policeman there. He was like 5 meters away from Zhou Bing, and he was staring at him and monitoring him. But probably he saw that he didn't do anything particularly have threatened the others or at that place, and also because Zhou Bing was dressed very simple and didn't bring any bag particularly, so to present himself as a threatenless figure. So that policeman didn't do anything to interfere with his performance. And then in the second line, we can see that there is a police car there. So the car was parked away there, and there are several policemen probably inside because none of them get out of the car. So they're inside watching him doing this. And for a while, and then they realized, oh, he didn't do anything bad, so the car left in the end. So this performance continues and until the end, get inside of one of the break in the square, and he waited there for a while and didn't see the end come out. So that's the end of the performance. One thing he wanted to add up is together with another performance he did under Mao Zedong's statue, and also this one, he wanted to express his concept at the same time, didn't give the excuse for the policeman to stop him. He thinks it's better for you to express yourself wisely as an artist in performance art, not just protest directly and give the power excuse to stop you or arrest you. Yeah, wisdom around it. At the same time, you express your concept, and also they know that you are doing something, but they didn't have the reason to stop you. Like before he doing this performance on the square, he thought different kind of ways and then choose this way to do it.
Of course, very successful piece. They know something's going on, they are observing, but they cannot do anything. And you get across, and we all know. Everybody knows what's going on. They're holding memory to these tremendous things that happen there. Yeah, so there are several other pieces. This one is an interesting one because you covered this happening in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, in Europe. And your body is covered. You're only showing your feet. And I think you're talking there something. It's an interesting combination. You can tell us a little bit about this, the relationship with this, about like, I am a white house. And then you were talking, I think you were speaking Chinese, or how was that? And I just want to mention the following pieces, and I will mention, we stay with this one. The other ones, we will see them quickly. They are all pieces, they're all like pieces engaging the body experience, like biting the body in there, and you produce some markings that I don't know what they mean. I think end up being 2 different numbers. And then there is the following piece, that piece you are dealing with the phrase until the phrase is part of the same, because you still have the markings in your arms. So they're somewhat like 2 different moments. I'm just going through, like, anthologizing here a little bit some of the actions. We will go back later to the White House. I am a White House. And that one, walking on this soft mound of coal for some time so that your walk transforms the line of that horizon. Again, a physical experience. The following one, collecting your sweat and then drinking it. Of course, you have to do like jumping activity to produce the sweat, collect it, and drink it. This whole cycle of that kind of lingers with the object that some artists do with, also work, we experimented with body, or have done body fluids. And the other one, safety distance, holding the fingers as close as possible, not touching there to feel the power of electricity. I just leave that there, as those images, the engaging the body experience in some sort of liminal and demanding something that from the body that the body has not done before, or not in that way, like collecting the sweat, for example. So let's go back to the White House, the tent, and tell us what you were talking there and how was it in the Netherlands. You decided to cover yourself up. It's beautiful. I love it. So how was that situation? And you were there for some time, I guess, was within a museum, right? It's 2010, same year that Marina Abramovic had the Artist is Present in MoMA, well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And this is also the art gallery that created by Marina. And
what was that context of Marina?
This performance happened in Amsterdam, and this art gallery was founded by Wu back at that time. So this event was quite interesting. They invited for artists from different countries in different art forms. So Zhou was from China doing performance art, and the other artists from different countries doing installation paintings, and four of them invited to this art gallery. So they took them from the airport with eyes blindfolded and took them to this museum, and they live inside of this gallery. If they wanted to, have a visit to the other galleries and museums, they couldn't go there in person. They were sent the stuff to go outside and go to the space and take the photos and send back to them. And so they see Amsterdam with photos with their own body. So after this experience, they're supposed to make an art piece out of it. And Zhou made this piece. So it's like have a reflection to what he has experienced. The audience can see him, but can't really see his whole image, could only see his feet. And also they could hear his voice, but they couldn't understand what he's talking about. It's the same feeling when he was living there. He actually is physically in Amsterdam, but he couldn't really experience Amsterdam with his own body. It's like he is in China looking photos in Amsterdam. No different. So this is kind of about this.
Very interesting, very interesting. It was the curatorial proposition to do that, invite the artists to that museum. And it's kind of like this, it reminds of Joseph Beuys' piece, America Loves Me, I Love America, and America Loves Me. And he doesn't see anything of America because he just goes to the space with the coyote to live there. And that's amazing. Anyway, interesting, the ideas moving around, and so clever, very good. I hope they paid you good money there. So anyway, they took you around.
It's the same logic with Beuys' art project is the same.
Well, we have seen those other images, and there is a piece, that involves producing salt, boiling seawater. Oh, and that one, that is very interesting. What was you submerged into the process of boiling seawater and to produce salt crystals. Can you just make a short sort of review of that process, why you did it, what was the context in that moment to do that?
He chose to do this art in a background that he was doing art residency in Korea at that time. So it's in September, and also the American Army marched in Korea from the same place in Incheon in the same month in history. So he wanted to use this as the background of his performance, and he did for 14 days. He brought 40 kilograms of seawater from the sea and back and boiling it and into salt to present that this is a very meaningless thing to do, just like war is meaningless.
对，整个就是这样的一个过程作品。
Excellent. And then the final thing is, of course, is the involvement of the whole process anyway, labor, human labor. Like war is some sort of labor. People get paid to make wars. It's amazing. And then you have this series, it's like this. The action is long durational and you end up with some product you display in a series. After that, I think the slide, those 31 and 32, they're also serious. So you go back to, or in a way, the performance has a sort of end product, which is not a relic, but it's an art object, like the soul things, although you have given it to people. And then the one prior that, this is part of the process. That one, those are in the prior show in the making, and this is the exhibition. Those are like actions that are done in relation to galleries, like the White House piece that you did in the Netherlands. The action dialogues with the processes and the ways of exhibiting the contemporary art. And in this case, the action is a series of repeated actions imprinting on, I think it's clay. The photographs showing the process and the actual pieces there. I don't know, that was probably a museum too, or a gallery. So the relationship of action with the more traditional spaces of contemporary art in that case. Maybe you can translate a little bit about this, and maybe Zubin would like to add something on that.
You mean about the space and his...
Well, the relationship that when action, is dialoguing with the art system and the ways in which the art system is gonna. It's already known. It's a form of transaction we do, but it's part of the language of the institutions of contemporary art to exhibit objects, to demonstrate artworks has been made, and this is the demonstration. And then pieces that can be sold, and hopefully the artist gets the better part of the profit. And in this other case, with this piece in the mystery tray, I think it's called, I like that name. I think it's also following some bug there, right, with the pencil, but it's creating a drawing. So it's a very nice process too. Also small, but it goes back to the traditional, the table, the few elements of, drawing or painting. But again, if Zubin has something to say about this, when action dialogues with the institutions of contemporary art, like those serial pieces and producing objects that are shown.
对，在这个时间段
during this period, he's trying to, create different kind of art forms through performance art, like installation and paintings and photographs. But he didn't have, representative galleries where galleries are working long-termly. If there are people wanting to collect his work, they were just collected from him directly. And if there is someone is in the middle, then the middle person will normally get 20% and 80% to him, but his pieces are rarely sold.
Just to say something personally, we love museums. We grew up, we study art, and we go to those places where some art and some important art is preserved, and at the same time, performance art tried to get away from that. It's an imprison of creativity, right? But still is part of history. It's part of the collective creation. absolutely. And experimenting with everything, like the serial action on the clay, and just a small gesture, creating an art object. Yeah. I like this piece that you are also somewhere in Italy, I think, that prior one, this one, that you're throwing pearls, like I imagine fake pearls, not real pearls, but it's a sound piece, right? And then also durational, 7 hours, something like that. And the audience is there just listening to those tiny little sounds, and then you collect them back again, right? That was the process.
This
performance he did is beside installation that has been done by another artist, and at the same time when he is throwing the pearls actually has a very resonant and relatively loud sound. It's not very subtle, but the audience can hear it very vividly.
Yeah, I can imagine, the gallery quiet and high ceilings, that little thing hitting the perfect white cement. Must be interesting experience. So people were sitting there and just happy to see and listen the concert.
For this performance, he doesn't really, he's not down for the audience. He just wanted to throw the pearls out and then pick them up one by one. This piece is done for himself. And for the length, it's actually, he doesn't really know how long it would be. Like he supposed it would be like the whole night, but it has actually been shorter than expected because one incident is not expected. When he is picking up the pearls from the ground, he was supposed to pick it up by himself one by one, but the audience started to help him. So that shortened the performance.
Nice. So at that time it became interactive.
And the background of this performance is that 7,316 pearls represent for the exact days that he has known with his wife. At that period, there's some problem between them at a time, so he has done this performance for himself.
Nice. The following one, it's also kind of intriguing, coming of age performance and sculpture again. This metal tube that is being cut. It has a certain size, 165 centimeters. I wonder if that's your height. And then it's cut. He asked in the shop to cut it in 18 pieces and then to put it back together to restore it. Here is like a ritual derived onto the metal workers that are invited into the process of the piece. What is it about the 165 centimeters? Is it his body height and about the 18 cut pieces?
No, actually, it's not his height. It's his daughter's height. So his daughter was born in 1997. Until 2015, his daughter turned 18. So this is a performance devoted to her when she turned 18. And probably it's the same around the world. Like when you turn 18,
exactly.
As a very important time point for people to be adults. So
Right. Yeah, I was puzzled because of not his age. But yeah, your daughter, of course. Yeah, very good. Now, the next piece is interesting because it comes back into this doing stuff in the street. And you have actually asked somebody, I think, to hold like this big mirror that produces those light, or is it you moving the mirror around and blinding people in different spots as whoever is moving the mirror is and people's faces are like, oh, back me. How long was this piece, and was it somebody else holding the mirror?
Okay, so this performance happened inside of the city center of Chengdu, and he actually hired a workman to do this piece. In order to not really make the audience think this is doing on purpose, so he hired a workman to sit it there and with the mirror beside him, like he's carrying this mirror somewhere in the middle, but he's resting there. So people were walking by the street, and all of a sudden there will be very strong lighting ray shooting on their face, and there will be, have the reaction. Most of them are mad at it, but when they saw the worker with the mirror beside him, they wouldn't really think that, oh, this is done by purpose, so they just walk by. And the initiative of this performance is coming from because he was invited to Kunming, southern side of China. It's very sunny there, and a very strong impression for him is that there are very sunny and very strong sunlight is shooting on the face, so he did this performance.
制造了这样的一个场景吧，对，做了这件作品。
Yeah, nice, like humorous, interactive, humorous, working with the elements of the particularities of the context. Well, like that piece about your daughter, honoring your daughter's becoming 18 years old, and then is like this piece, the kind of personal cartography where you have created the bust that we can see in one of the images on top of yourself, your head, and you tie it to the car, and you go back and forth from the two cities, from Xi'an to Chengdu and back, or something like that, right? And then, of course, the object is completely transformed. It gets a little bit of more than polishing. And then in the next image, we see it's presented now as the, what is left there. Is again, this working with time and what was happening then. That was 2015. You do this head of bronze that is completely transformed. It's like you beat yourself up a little bit. It transformed into this other sculpture. It's transformed by the process of moving through one city to the other, this kind of personal cartography. What were the ideas there, doing this 4,000 kilometers, going back and forth? Just an experiment, or was there something that motivated you? You wanted to see that as the corrosion, right? Our bodies will disappear also, right?
This is one of the pieces around his project, around a whole year project. During this year, he is going to make 12 projects, so each month a project. Also this is during the period that when he is trying to produce another kind of art form from performance art. This is installation, sculpture, and also photography and painting. So 12 projects, 12 performances, also produced 12 art pieces.
Right. Yeah, well, the material disappearance, the dematerialization of the bust of his own person. And then next piece, something similar, a process that he submits all his diaries from 1986 to 2015, all that pile of notebooks, paper. He took all that and to the paper maker, and it becomes white paper again. Everything is dissolved. It becomes again. There is the dematerialization there. Was it hard to decide to take all your writings to say goodbye to your diaries to become white paper again?
So this is also one of the pieces that he has done during the year, 12 pieces, one of it.
Yeah, the 12 pieces.
Yes, and the initiative of this performance actually is from his own worrying. He worried that what if he died all of a sudden, and all of his 29 years of diaries gonna be read by the others, and a lot of his secrets gonna be revealed. So he was thinking like, what should I do with my diaries from my high school until now? So I think he thinks this is the best way to do it. And also he believes that he believes that he doesn't want it to, preserve anything or leave anything in the world after he died. So when he died, he wanted to have all of his works stored inside of a USB and put inside of his mouth and just burned with his body together. And so he will be gone from the world like he has never been here.
Wow. Yeah. The diaries, when you think, it's amazing. So you always wrote, Zhou, you had this exercise of writing diary since you were very young. Is that something is it common? Used to be common. Now I don't know if people do that. To have diaries.
I do that as well. So writing diary. Yeah, I do that from a very young age as well. Yeah, he started to do it since high school.
Right.
So until 2015 is 29 years already there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many sheets of white paper the diaries became?
101 papers.
Wow, what a number. 101. I remember the picture at Chengdu last year. Remember? Like 101.
Oh, yeah.
11, 101. Yeah, that's amazing. There are 7 more pieces down the road to the whole. Which one of the next 7 pieces he wants to talk about? Oh, look at this one with the moon.
The rest of it, he doesn't want to emphasize on anything. He wanted to talk about more upon the other PPT and also about one of the project he does for self-reconstruction.
What is that? Self-reconstruction?
It's also in another PPT. It's beside upon. He did a whole year project to reconstruct himself.
Oh, yes. I wanted to ask about that. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
很大的工作量啊。
Yeah. Now go walk. You have the day ahead.
Go rest. You should sleep.
We go rest.
饭了，15分。
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Kisser. See you.
See you. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.